Hello, everyone in the Classy Career Girl Network. We're giving you a little behind the scenes. We're going live for a live podcast interview here today. So I am super excited to introduce you to Sprinkles Cupcakes founder, Candace Nelson. And you're going to learn how to turn what you love into what you do. She's going to walk us through some steps that she took to build a globally beloved brand so you can do it too. So welcome, Candace. I am super excited to have you here today.
I'm thrilled to be here, and I feel extra special on being live streamed. That's fancy.
I know, it is fancy.
Don't know how you do it. Technology is still alien to me.
We made it happen. So I am super excited. I remember my my first Sprinkles cupcake. I'm sure people tell you stories all the time, but mine was special. It was with my mom in La Jolla, California. So I just want to tell you that. I do remember that day. You've built an incredible brand, and I would love to know, how did you make that leap to entrepreneurship? How did you learn to bet on yourself and make this happen?
So I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family. I will start there. My dad was sort of a lifer, corporate attorney, and very risk averse. And I was taught to get a great education and go to work at a company, and the rest would all sort of unfold, right? So I sort of bought into this belief that if I went to the right school and I got the grade and I got the prestigious job, that it would be this stair step to success. But a couple of things happened. One was that I went from investment banking to then an internet startup. It was the late 90s, so the dot-com boom, and then subsequent bust. So I was out of a job. I'd done everything right. And I literally was out completely jobless with no prospects, unemployed. And I was like, wait a second, how did this happen? This wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't, the plan for me. And then the second thing that happened was 9/11. So, all of a sudden I was out of a job and I was faced with this idea that it could all end tomorrow, which is a morbid thought. And we typically try to spend our days not thinking about that. But it's amazing how clarifying things get when you start to think that way. And I realized that I really didn't like what I was doing at all. And by the way, what was I doing? What was I giving back to the world? I was just crunching numbers. So I made a conscious decision to go back into the workforce doing something I was really passionate about. And that happened to be baking and food. And I had no model for how to make a living doing that. But I gave myself 9 months to go to pastry school, to really test my interest, because sometimes a passion is just a hobby and other times you can make it into a career. And I realized that. And I thought maybe it was just my weekend hobby, but I had an inkling it might be more. And so what pastry school taught me was that I really did love it. I loved how tangible it was. I loved being creative. I loved working with my hands and giving something to someone and watching them enjoy it and hearing the memories, like you said, of having that first Sprinkles cupcake. Food is very much about connection and joy. And that really fueled me.
I love it. You had a big why.
Yes, I had a big why. And so out of pastry school, of course, I'd had so much fun indulging my creative side, but there was still that, I think, left side of your brain, right? The analytical business side came knocking, and ultimately married the two as a creative entrepreneur and reinvented the cupcake and opened the first ever cupcakes only bakery in 2005 in Beverly Hills.
So fun. I love it. So how, we're all building our own brands. How did you grow this brand so it's so well recognized and cultivate this community of people who love your brand too? What would be some of your brand building tips for us?
I'm such a big believer in brand because we live in this Amazon world. It's really hard to compete on price. And frankly, when you are out there competing on price, there's no loyalty. As soon as somebody undercuts you, you're dead. So it's really about creating a special experience and telling a story and telling an authentic story. And then also I found that stepping into my personal brand really helped to amplify my product's brand. And we all have that opportunity these days. It doesn't have to be on TV, which it was for me. I ended up being on the Food Network and then Netflix, which was super fun and unexpected. But these days, everyone's a media company. All we have to do is hop on any number of free platforms and talk to the phone. And, people want that behind the scenes connection. They want, when they like and admire a brand, they want more, right? They want the story behind it. They want the person behind it. You need to give them something else to really dig their teeth into.
I love that. And you also work with your husband. So I gave you a little hint that I do as well. So I am excited to ask you, because everyone's always asking me, like, how do you work with your husband? How do you make that happen? What is it like to work with your husband? And do you have any tips?
Well, it's not for everyone. Let's just start there. Most of my friends look at me like I'm crazy, but obviously you've made it work. We make it work. I think really the secret, secret to our success is I already knew I could work with him because actually we worked together at the investment bank. We weren't dating at the time, but we were definitely, investment banking hours are super grueling. Nothing compared to startup hours, but still really grueling. And so we'd have these late nights, putting together pitch books, and everybody was grumpy and tired. And he was able to, keep a great attitude and make all the analysts laugh. And then I also was able to witness how he treated other people in the world, not just the people, in the suits at the investment bank, but the people in the parking garage who were parking his car. And I was able to see how he treated them with kindness and knew their names and knew the sports teams they were cheering for and had this authentic curiosity for people. And so I, have a lot of respect for just the way he moves through the world. And then we're both just really used to working hard. We were brought up, in a space that is really about the grind. And I think our challenge is to try to, keep that balance really.
Exactly. There's
But we do know our
definitely some
lanes.
balance.
Yes, there has to be balance, but we do know our lanes as well. We are both founder types, but I think at least with Sprinkles and now with Pizzana and our other businesses, we could definitely have our lanes that we're able to own, and then we come back to the middle to kind of trade notes.
Awesome. I love it. So what is his lane? Is he more behind the scenes operations?
He's very much behind the
Yeah.
scenes. We joke about it. He's like, so I'm the co-founder that no one's ever heard of. I'm like, yeah, but you like it that way. No, he's able to do all of our contracts and our real estate deals and our,
Nice.
work with the commercial brokers. And, he's really good at managing people. He's great at managing people. I'm much more of the creative, independent product marketing and brand person. So, but we both have founder mentalities where we both have vision, great big what if visions.
I love that. So how do you take your vision and turn that into a successful business? Like, what are some of those key ingredients that you need?
Well, first off, you need to think about the first step, right? Because it can be so intimidating. If I had gone into building Sprinkles and thinking, okay, I'm going to build a national brand of, 20 plus bakeries across the country. No, it started with calling up anyone I knew in the bakery world and asking them what it was like. What would the investment cost? What kind of equipment would I need? How does this all work? It starts with that first step. And with every person, and by the way, there are so many people out there who want to help, right? And it's even easier these days. You can go on LinkedIn, you can DM people, ask for mentorship, ask for advice. I've certainly been on the receiving end of that, but it's really about, I call it following the breadcrumbs, because you take that first step and that leads you to another step. And before you know it, you have some momentum behind you. And all of a sudden you're kind of rolling downhill.
Yeah. Starts with that first baby step. Sometimes that's like the hardest step, but after you take that, it's like everything gets easier.
It is the hardest step because it's that step where you say, I'm going to, get off the couch and stop dreaming about it and actually do something about it. And that's really what separates the entrepreneurs from just the dreamers, is that action.
Did you create a business plan, or was this just kind of like your ideas and then you just kind of ran with them?
I wouldn't call it a business plan. It was a very simple financial model. And I'll put that in air quotes because it literally was like, what rent would we pay, generally speaking? How many people would we have to hire? What would we pay them? we assumed a profit margin. And then we figured out like how many cupcakes we would have to sell on a daily basis to just even break even. And we got comfortable with that. We were like, well, I mean, we live in a big city. We're here in LA. Everybody's got a birthday. We've got tons of gifts, being gifted around town. We can tap into that market. And we just came to terms with like, I don't think we're going to fall flat on our face. And then, but we weren't necessarily prepared for the upside. We were prepared for the downside. We weren't prepared for the upside that inevitably happened.
Yeah, tell us about that. Like, was that so that it was unexpected? Like, how did that go?
It was very unexpected because so many people had told us that opening a cupcake bakery in the middle of Beverly Hills was a terrible idea for a variety of reasons. One was it had never been done before. There was a reason bakeries sold lots of things, sure. The other was that people in LA don't eat cupcakes, or at least that is the reputation that LA seems to carry. And then also it happened to be a time when the low carb diets were really trending. So the cards all seemed really stacked against us. But what I had done, which I definitely, I counsel other people to do, is I had started small and I'd sort of tested the market on a smaller scale for traction, for product market fit. I was just making cupcakes out of my kitchen. And at first it was just my friends who were ordering and feeling sorry for me. So they ordered my cupcakes. And then all of a sudden, friends of theirs tasted the cupcakes and started calling. And then before I knew it, strangers were calling me. And I thought, okay, I think I might be onto something. There's a need in this market. People like my cupcakes. And so there was a little bit of buzz that I had already drummed up just working out of my kitchen. And so by the time we opened our retail space, we had a little bit of a following, and that helped a lot.
Nice. And this was this when like Instagram was starting to get popular? Was that kind of like your social media?
This was pre-Instagram.
Pre-Instagram, okay.
Dating me. So 2005. But back when Facebook was still literally just for college kids, but that changed really quickly. The impetus for our, selling out within hours, our first day and beyond, was an email newsletter, actually. And I still, wholly believe in the power of email marketing. It was a newsletter called Daily Candy. I don't know if anyone out there remembers it, but it carried a lot of weight, and it would come out every day and tell people in Los Angeles and, other cities around the country. It inevitably spread, but telling people in Los Angeles what was new, what was hot, what was happening in town that day. And so the day we opened, Daily Candy went out, and it had such incredible following that people were lined up.
I love that. And so how did you get on Daily Candy? Because that's, I think, one of the things is you're trying to, put your brand out there and get featured in these magazines and, in these newsletters. What was your secret there?
You really need to, well, first of all, I will say this, Daily Candy was really good at what they did. They had one editor at the time named Crystal Mears, and she's still out there doing fabulous things in the world, entrepreneurial and otherwise, but she really sniffed out sort of inside scoop. So she had heard about me just from that little bit of buzz, me, baking out of my kitchen. So I have nothing to do. I did not pitch anyone. This really was very gratuitous. It came to me, but I also did enlist the help of a friend who had worked at a PR agency, but she was taking some time off to go get her master's in nutrition. And so I had her write up a press release and send it around to the few people she knew. I think it's really about when you're starting, and we were bootstrapping, so we didn't have money to throw it at a PR agency, taking stock of what you have. Everybody has something, right? Everybody has a network. So, really comb through your network. Like, who do you know that you can lean on to put something on social media, or to send to a friend in, a news department, or to throw you a party? I mean, whatever it may be, everyone has to start somewhere. And we may take, our network for granted, but take a closer look, inspect what you already have, and utilize that to the best of your ability.
Yes, so good. And what about mindset? Like, you're scaling your company. How did you craft that mindset of an entrepreneur?
Well, it didn't come overnight. And I will say I was scared pretty much consistently all along the way. And I have suffered mercilessly from imposter syndrome for years. And it's funny because I do believe statistically that women suffer from imposter syndrome more than our male counterparts. And I remember one moment where we'd been open for a few months and, we were closed on Sundays in the early days. It was the only day we could, rest at all because things were just bananas from the get-go. And so it was Sunday and I was reading this personal development self-help book. I think it was called it was Jack Canfield, and it was his like Secrets to Success or the Success Principles. Yeah. And so I was reading that and Charles walks in and he's just started laughing. And I was like, what? He goes, that book is promising you success. He goes, you have success. Put the book down, like take a nap or something, rest. I was like, no, you don't understand. So it's, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the mindset piece is so important, but it's a constant, it's a practice, right? Even with a line down the block, I still didn't believe that I was worthy or that I was really succeeding. So I think we always have to take a moment to, sorry, hold on. I have a little friend. Thank you. My husband, my partner. So we always have to remember to take a moment to look at the small wins, the big wins, and take a moment to congratulate ourselves because those really are the building blocks to success. I think as women, we don't necessarily always take that time to realize all the great things we've done, all of the hurdles we've already gotten over. And we're capable of so much and just have to remind ourselves from time to time.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you forget about it too, or like you think it has to be a big win, but just the small wins too count, right?
The small wins totally count. I mean, anything, going to a party alone, standing up and giving a toast if you're scared of public speaking, like these are the things that mean that you're continuing to challenge yourself and grow and trying to live up to your potential, which is at the end of the day, what any of us are trying to do.
Definitely. So are you ready for Classy Career Girl lightning round?
Sure.
Okay. So these are questions that we ask all of our guests here. So let's get started. I'm excited to hear your answers. So what is your best financial advice?
Spend your money on appreciating, not depreciating assets.
What is your experience with debt and what would be your tips for someone who has a lot of debt right now?
I try to avoid it at all costs. Ironically, given that I went into investment banking right out of college, I actually was raised without much financial literacy. And so I got suckered into a credit card in college and racked up a bunch of bills and wasn't paying off, my minimum even, and didn't really understand how it worked. So I'm a big believer in, educating, bringing that sort of financial literacy education to kids earlier on in the society, because you can really sink under a mound of debt. I was fortunate to get a signing bonus for the job that I got out of college, and I used that to wipe away that debt. But if you can avoid it at all costs, do it.
Definitely. What about business debt? Like, what would you say for that?
Oh, I think sometimes you have to, given the business that you're in, if you have inventory or, I think, but, being financially responsible, having, sometimes you have to have personal guarantees. I mean, that I would try to avoid at all costs as well. Exactly. But sometimes it's necessary. Sure. Personal debt, though, I would try to avoid.
What do you wish you would have known when you started on this road to career success? You were reading the Success Principles book. You are a success. So what do you wish you would have known before your success?
I think the power of your own personal network and professional network. I think, when I look back to starting Sprinkles, I was like, I'm an entrepreneur, sort of me against the world, right? And me making my way in the world, and professional networks are really more for people in corporate America. But my goodness, being an entrepreneur can be a lonely road, and we absolutely need our network. And I think I didn't realize I should have been nurturing that all along. I now am so grateful for my friends, my personal network, my school mommy network, and then I'm also a member of a couple of different communities, professional communities, the We Suite Female Founders Collective, and I appreciate those women in my life as well so much.
I love the mommy network. I'm a mom of 3 too, so
Oh my gosh.
we
So
need the mama
important.
network for
Yes, we
sure.
do.
So what is on that note, what is your best mom advice? So how old you have 2 boys, did I see?
Yes, 11 and 15. And I am trying to raise entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that is I'm trying to raise problem solvers because at the end of the day, entrepreneurs are just problem solvers that are trying to make some money solving a problem. And so I really like incorporating my work into home life and family life. And we talk about it at the dinner table. I mean, even when they were really little, right? We'd bring them into the bakery and they would frost cupcakes and they were part of, sort of our team. Everybody knew my boys, which was really fun. But now we're getting a little more sophisticated, 11 and 15, and I'm asking their advice on problems we might have at the restaurant, or in other areas of life, and kind of trying to train their brains, exercise those muscles of problem solving.
That's so good. I need to bring my girls. My oldest is 8, so but
Aw,
I think it's almost that time, right? Where I can
sure,
start
why not?
asking her to solve problems for me. She's so creative. It's such a good idea. I should. How do you stay balanced?
Ooh, so I think for me, what's foundational is a good night's sleep. I wear this Aura ring that gives me my score in the morning. And if it starts to suffer, I really try to figure out what's going on and fix that, because when my sleep is off, everything else goes, right? The diet, the mood, everything. So that's kind of my number one. I try to meditate here and there. I have a great app called Waking Up. It's Sam Harris's app, and I love it. It's just like they have a daily meditation. I think that's like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, super doable. And then I think just listen, there's a lot going on. I'm a mom. I've got multiple businesses. I've got this book coming out. I think really focusing not on the quantity of time, but like how present you are in each moment. It can really go. You can stretch a minute a long way if you're really present.
Especially with those kids, for
That's
sure.
for sure. And boy, have I had to start getting creative. And I got this great advice early on where it was like, don't ask, how was school? How was your day? Get really creative with those questions so that they're not the one word answers. But boy, they get real cagey as they get older. They still, no matter how creative my questions are, I still get good, good.
Mine wants
Really,
to tell me everything right at bedtime, like right when it's like lights
oh,
out. I'm like, I've been trying to get this out of you all day.
exactly. The car is my friend. We've spent so
Yeah.
much time in the car here in LA, and it's like, okay, you're not going anywhere. I gotcha.
How do you find happiness and fulfillment in your work?
Well, I think for me, it's pretty easy because I work with food and food is so joyful. And even, the mission at Sprinkles, at Pizzana now is about surprising and delighting people. And, as I said before, and with, your memory as an example, like it's so much about connection and nostalgia and great memories. And so I'm around that all day, in the restaurant or even on social media. We see people, ordering takeout and having this really special pizza experience or sending Sprinkles cupcakes around for birthdays. It's kind of hard not to find joy in that.
Definitely. What brings you the most joy in your career or business?
I think freedom, and that sounds a little odd because obviously being responsible for hundreds of employees and, you know, thousands of customers experience is a great responsibility. But I feel that there's no one standing in the way of me and like the mark I want to make on the world and what I want to put out there. And I find that having creative freedom is what really brings me a lot of joy and
I bet
fulfillment.
writing your book was like so fulfilling in that aspect,
Oh,
right?
I loved writing my book. The marketing of it is actually been not as enjoyable because it's just such a slog, but the writing of the book was truly I wrote it during COVID, so it was an extended moment for me to sit down and reflect on what I had built, what I had done right, and give myself a pat on the back, which I rarely do, and what I had done wrong, and pass those lessons along to aspiring entrepreneurs and first-time founders who are giving it their all right now. Um, yeah, so it's been a really incredible creative experience for me.
So fun. What does having class mean to you in your personal life or at work?
I think having class means having integrity in your word, in your actions, doing what you say you're going to do, and treating people with respect.
Mhm. How do you describe your work style?
I'd say I hire tough and manage easy. I am not a micromanager. I really am one of those people who is sort of quite like innately driven. And so I tend to work best with people who are the same way. And so I like to give them a lot of autonomy in their job. But what that means is I got to make sure that I'm hiring the right person first.
I love it. Last question. You ready? What's the most important skill to have in business?
Oh, I think I touched on this, but maybe I should say something different. I was going to say problem solving, but maybe resilience.
Mhm.
Resilience, because we get knocked down so much. I mean, none of this is easy. And then when you decide to, strike out on your own and create something new, oh boy, then you're a punching bag for every critic out there, right?
Mhm.
And certainly being in the public eye, just with the public business, and then also on TV, like I've had to develop a thicker skin. But I've been very careful to make sure that it didn't prevent me from putting myself out there again, right? Like the most important thing is that you don't let that stuff stop you. So having the resilience to go out there, not please everyone all the time, right? But then realize that you're the one in the ring, and who would you rather be? The one in the ring or the one commenting on the person in the ring? I'd rather be the one in the ring, even though you're getting knocked down. So I think resilience is key.
So tell us now about your book, because I saw that you have a couple. You have Reese Witherspoon saying that this book is a crash course in creativity, innovation, and hard work. Sheryl Sandberg, another one of my favorites, has says it's a clear roadmap for building a successful business. So that's awesome. Congrats on that. It's
Thank you
called
so
Sweet
much.
Success, a simple recipe to turn your passion into profit. So what do you want readers to know, and like what's inside the book?
I want readers to know that entrepreneurship is for everyone. We obviously see a lot of entrepreneurs in the media these days. Usually they're men that are building rocket ships to the moon. I am no tech savant. I don't even know how we're on this Zoom call right now.
And Facebook at the same time.
And Facebook at the same time. Mind blown. But I built a really big business out of something really anyone could do. I made cupcakes, right? And so, but it's been such an incredibly fulfilling ride for me. And I would love to see more people, invited to that table. So through Sweet Success, I am trying to demystify entrepreneurship and really offer the mindset that's necessary to taking that leap, but also some real actionable tools, like a real roadmap to what it may take to build a business. And I have obviously been mentoring, female entrepreneurs for a few years now, but this is a larger platform for me to be able to inspire others. And it's told through the lens of me building Sprinkles. So, through the perspective of me as a first-time founder, deer in headlights, not knowing what to do, but passing those lessons I learned along to other people. And, even if you aren't planning to start a business, it's really sort of a rallying cry for women to come online, like with their confidence, and to go dream bigger dreams and to go after them. So that's really what sort of the ultimate mission is. And so I think it's great for anyone who is building a business, or just anyone who wants to hear the Sprinkle story or get inspired to go after a big dream. And actually, for your community, if you pre-order and send me a little receipt of your hardcover copy at hello@candace-nelson.com, I will send you a personalized book plate so you can have a personalized signed book. So if there's anybody in your life who you think this book would be a fit for, pre-order it. It comes out November 8th. It'll be perfect in time for the holidays, and I'll have time to get you your personalized book plate.
That's awesome. I love that. Yay. Well, thank you so much for joining us here and for being here. And where can we follow you also? Because I know we can we can pre-order the book on Amazon, right? And
Absolutely.
then where can we learn more about you online?
Sure. So you can also read more about the book on my website, which is Candace-Nelson.com. candaceNelsonLeadership.com. You can also find me on Instagram and now TikTok.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, I'm
Good
actually
for
blowing.
you.
I actually have a couple viral videos. I'm actually
Nice.
blowing up today. I was at 1.8 million views the last time I looked, which is
Nice.
giving me serious street cred with my kids. That's clearly
Awesome.
what it takes. But yes, so at Candace Nelson on both IG and TikTok.
Awesome. Well, we will check you out for sure. Thank
you
you so much for joining us and for being here. And if you guys are listening to us live, thanks for joining us live. And we will see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.